they'll destroy they'll destroy global supply chains, which this is probably still going to. Anyway, Baldies in Syria. The Syria the media won't show you, and Veritasium has a new video as well, which is the man who accidentally killed the most people in history about
A single
lead.
scientist created 3 inventions that accidentally caused the deaths of millions of people, including himself. Not only that, they decreased the average intelligence of people all around the world, increased crime rates, and caused 2 completely separate environmental disasters that we are still dealing with today. Part of this video is sponsored by Wren. More about them at the end of the show. In 1944, as a young chemist who had just finished his master's, Claire Patterson went to work on the Manhattan Project, building the first nuclear weapons. His job was to concentrate uranium-235, the fissile fuel for bombs, from the much more common uranium-238. And this required huge machines, mass spectrometers, which separated the 2 types of uranium by their slight difference in mass. After the war, Patterson went back to grad school to get his PhD. He picked a research project that would take advantage of his experience with mass spectrometers, measuring the age of the Earth. Radioactive rocks are effectively clocks. Uranium-238, for example, decays into thorium, and then protactinium, and then 12 more decays, until it ends up as lead-206, which is stable. The rate of this decay is consistent and can be measured. It takes 4.5 billion years for half of a sample of U-238 to decay into lead-206.
Patterson's PhD project was to determine the age of the Earth by measuring the ratio of uranium to lead in primordial rocks. But to calibrate his instrument, first he used zircon crystals whose ages were known. Zircon is ideal for this purpose because when it forms, it contains trace amounts of uranium, but absolutely no lead. So any lead that you later find inside a zircon, you know must be the product of a uranium decay. Now, Patterson was tasked with measuring the lead content, and another student, George Tilton, measured uranium. Tilton's uranium measurements were fine. They matched predictions. But Patterson's lead measurements were all over the place, and they were many, many times higher than they expected.
We take George's uranium and my lead. Not right, Patterson. There was lead there that didn't belong there.
So where was all this extra lead coming from? That mystery would take over the rest of Claire Patterson's life and bring him to the literal ends of the Earth.
In 1908, a woman was driving across the Belle Isle Bridge in Detroit when her car stalled. A passing motorist stopped to help. In those days, cars needed to be hand-cranked to start. He knelt down and turned the crank, and the engine roared to life, a little too suddenly. The man couldn't get out of the way, and the crank handle hit him in the face and broke his jaw. He died as a result of his injuries.
Damn, bro, people were soft as fuck back then. What the fuck? How do you die from just a crank handle like
His
that?
name was Byron Carter, and he was the founder of his own car company, so he was well connected in the Detroit auto scene. He counted among his close friends the founder of Cadillac, Henry Leland. Leland was so distraught over his friend's death that he resolved to eliminate hand cranks from his vehicles. Leland hired Charles Kettering to create a self-starting car, and by 1911, he had a working prototype.
The moral of the story is never help out women, okay? Die.
Hand cranking was difficult and dangerous, and best left to men. But a car that started itself changed everything.
The world's first crankless car was the Cadillac Model 30. It was much more powerful than cars before it. It had a top speed of 45 miles per hour and 40 horsepower, double the Ford Model T. The Model 30 was a huge success for Cadillac, doubling the company's annual sales. But it had a problem. It was deafeningly loud. In internal combustion engines, a piston compresses the fuel-air mixture, which is then ignited by a spark from the spark plug. The expanding hot gases push the piston back down. The problem with the Model 30 engine was it compressed the fuel-air mixture more than previous models. So much, in fact, that often the fuel would spontaneously combust before the spark from the spark plug. So rather than orderly, perfectly timed explosions, you'd get multiple haphazard combustions leading to turbulent pressure waves inside the cylinder. The resulting sound led the problem to become known as engine knocking. Knocking wasn't just hard on the ears, it hurt the engine's performance. It reduced power output and lowered fuel efficiency. The vibrations also damaged the piston and walls of the cylinder, shortening the life of the engine. The good news was that engine knocking could be corrected by changing the fuel. Different fuels can withstand different levels of compression before detonating. N-heptane, for example, will spontaneously combust under only a little compression. Isooctane, on the other hand, can withstand a much higher compression ratio before it auto-ignites, so it's much less likely to cause knocking. To quantify how much compression a fuel can withstand, scientists came up with the octane rating system. They arbitrarily set isooctane to have a rating of 100 and N-heptane a rating of 0. Now, real fuels aren't made up of only these two ingredients. They're a mix of lots of different hydrocarbons, but the octane rating tells you what mixture of octane and heptane gives equivalent performance. For example, 98 octane fuel can withstand the same compression as a mixture of 98% octane and 2% heptane. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of 98 octane fuel and put it in this piston, and when I compress it, nothing happens, which is exactly what you'd expect. This fuel can withstand a lot of compression. Diesel has an octane rating of 20, so it acts like a mixture of 20% isooctane and 80% N-heptane. If I put a little bit of diesel in there, let's see what happens with the same compression ratio. There you go. You get a little explosion in there. That's because this is a low octane fuel. I mean, that's what diesel's meant to do. You compress it and it ignites. But you don't want this sort of fuel in an engine with spark plugs. The reason fancy cars demand high octane fuel is to prevent knocking in their high compression, high performance engines. Kettering wanted to find an additive which would increase the octane rating of ordinary fuel and eliminate knocking in high compression engines.
Dude, I'm so stupid.
So he hired...
Every time I watch a Veritasium video, I'm like, why I have a poli-sci degree. Okay, I know he's like simplifying. I know he's like supposedly simplifying everything, but I'm watching this and I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm gonna keep it 100. Like, that's why they have fucking. I have COVID. Probably it.
Hired 27-year-old engineer Thomas Midgley Jr. Midgley experimented with all sorts of compounds, from melted butter and camphor to ethyl acetate and aluminum chloride. He later wrote most of them had no more effect than spitting in the Great Lakes. Ethanol was an interesting exception. It did stop the knocking, but you needed a lot of it, about 10% of the fuel mixture for it to be effective. That much ethanol would be expensive and hard to turn a profit on. And Midgley was really after an additive that was cheap, easy to produce, and effective even at low concentrations. So he kept trying. Then he hit on tellurium. It worked wonderfully as an anti-knock agent, but it had a terrible smell. You couldn't get rid of it by changing clothes or bathing. His wife was so offended by the stench that he had to sleep in the basement for 7 months. Midgley wrote, "I don't think that, although this doubled the fuel economy, humanity would suffer this smell." On December 3rd, 1921, after 5 years of working on the problem, Midgley found what he thought was the perfect solution: tetraethyl lead. That's a lead atom right there in the center. This additive was exactly what he was looking for. It stopped the knocking, it didn't smell, it was cheap to produce and readily available. Best of all, you only needed 1 part in 1,000 for it to be effective. In a call to Kettering, Midgley said, Can you imagine how much money we're gonna make with this? We're gonna make $200 million, maybe
Broke boy.
even more. That is over $3 billion in today's dollars. Now, for his discovery, the American Chemical Society gave him the prestigious Nichols Award, and they asked him to do a series of public talks, but Midgley declined. He and Kettering patented the process for making tetraethyl lead, and they called their new additive ethyl, perhaps so it might be confused with another common additive, ethyl alcohol. They made no mention of lead. Then they teamed up with three of America's largest corporations, General Motors, DuPont, and Standard Oil of New Jersey, to form the Ethyl Corporation. Their marketing was brilliant.
No man can look at the amazing record of accomplishment here in this research division without confidence that these men are going ahead with an eye to the future, looking for new facts and principles which will make things better and make life easier for all of us.
What could go wrong? I mean, these guys never make stuff that would kill us. Good guys famously, yes.
At the 1923 Indianapolis 500, the top three finishers all used ethyl, and the demand for leaded gasoline took off. To keep up, Ethyl Corporation had to build a new chemical plant in New Jersey, but the project began terribly. Within 2 months of operating, dozens of workers fell ill with lead poisoning. 5 of them died. To address the public outcry, Midgley held a press conference, and there he poured tetraethyl lead.
That seems really strange that happened, and totally out of the ordinary. Let's see how they will defend this.
Onto his hands, and he inhaled it for a full minute. He claimed he could do this daily without harm. But Midgley knew the dangers.
Really interesting. Who else did that? Oh yeah, Obama did that when he went to Flint, Michigan. Remember when Obama did that? And when he went to Flint, Michigan, it was like, no, your water is safe actually, and like drank a glass of water. Or numerous oil lobbyists. That have been forced to defend fracking cum. Well, he didn't really drink it. He let the water touch his lips. But yeah, oil lobbyists time and time again have been asked to, or Roundup as well.
We told you about a WHO report that found.
GMO advocate says Monsanto's Roundup is safe to drink, then refuses the glass. Here.
You want to drink?
Won't hurt increases in cancer. You do not believe that glyphosate in Argentina is causing increases in cancer. You can drink a whole quart of it and it won't hurt you.
You want to drink some? We have some here.
I'd be happy to, actually, but not really. But
not really.
I know it wouldn't hurt me.
If you say so, I have some glyphosate.
No, I'm not stupid.
Okay, so you.
Oh, so what's up? So it's safe to drink, but you're not stupid? Hey, guys, back when, corporate overlords would ride or die, okay? That's why I love, what's his face? There's that one fucking guy who ran for, shit. God, am I getting COVID brain? What's the guy who ran for the Democratic primaries? Presidential candidate. Yep, Hickenlooper. No, it was John Hickenlooper. No, not Kerry. Here.
Thank you, Governor. Since I have you, I just want to talk to you a little bit.
Like, this guy's a fucking coward.
No,
dude.
but I know
So it's dangerous,
I know. No, people try to commit suicide with it and
but
fail
let's-
fairly
let's-
regularly.
Tell the truth.
It's not dangerous to humans. No, it's not.
So you're ready to drink one glass of
No,
glyphosate?
I'm not an idiot.
The clip is being shared widely. But despite headlines like these, the man being interviewed, Patrick Moore, is not a lobbyist for Monsanto, the makers of Roundup. He is, however, known for controversy.
I have somehow evolved into an environmentalist that supports nuclear.
Yeah. Now that guy's a pussy. This guy, on the other hand, I want me a political candidate who's fucking ride or die, okay? I want me a John Hickenlooper. I want me a motherfucker who is so ride or die for frackers that he will literally drink the fracking cum straight out of the earth. Let's watch.
The 2005 Energy Policy Act exempted underground injections associated with fracking from federal Safe Drinking Water Act jurisdiction.
Look at that hair, bro.
Now, we've had concerns over groundwater contamination that have been raised, even documented by EPA in places like Pavilion, Wyoming.
One of the real issues when we sat down with the executives from Halliburton, they have a frac fluid that is made out of food additives. You can drink it. We did drink it around the table, almost ritual-like in a funny way. But it demonstrated that
it was like a pact.
Not like a pact. It was a demonstration. We had environmental community representatives. We had industry representatives. Everybody around the table.
It's not an occult.
No, it was not a cult.
Okay.
There were no religious overtures.
Yeah.
But I think the key was that they've invested millions of dollars to create what is really a benign fluid in every sense.